Hey there, welcome to another episode of saas.unbound, and today with me is Joel from browserless. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks everyone. Thanks for having me in. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, honestly, when I first learned about browserless and I started digging into this, and I think this is the 100th time that I'm going to say that on a podcast. I'm not a technical person. And when I first read about headless browser, I was like, okay, so my browser has a head. Like, what does it mean? What does it mean? So it was a lot of research, let's say. But okay, in plain English for other non-technical founders or folks that are listening, what's browserless? What do you guys do?
Yeah, the headless thing is really unfortunate. Programmatic would be a lot better of a term. I'd be in favor of like running in programmatic mode or I don't know, automate mode, I guess. But anyways, yeah, browserless is a browser as a service. We run headless. Actually, technically we do run headful too. There's a way to do that as well, but the whole headless thing is like you just don't see it. You don't see what's going on. There's no screen that gets rendered. And so for developers and engineers where they need to write something automatic on a web browser, this is a tool that they would love to use because it's pretty easy to get something up and running locally. And then when you go to scale it, like a managed database or other things, it can be hard to plan properly and get infrastructure set up for it. So we kind of step in and take care of those problems like scaling issues. And then on top of that, just like provide other updates and, things that make it work faster, better, and for your use case too, and just like other sort of developer conveniences. But yeah, headless browser as a service.
Okay, awesome. That makes it a little better.
A little more palpable. Yeah.
But as far as I know, you weren't technical up to a point. You were a musician before.
Yeah, there's actually, I don't know if people can see there's a trumpet over in this corner usually for like odd cracks of time. Yeah, I was a jazz musician for 10 or 15 years and did that for a living. Taught music, played music, worked at a music store. That was actually I guess that was my first technical job. I was director of internet services at a small music store, which really isn't saying a lot, but it was something. They gave me a little bit of authority on, running, I guess, a bit of the marketing page for this music store. We'll pull on that a little bit later, but yeah, no, wasn't a technical person or didn't have any technical training.
And then you just woke up one day and was like, headless browsers.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, there's a great 12-year span of time in there. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a tragedy kind of in a sense. There's a sad story and then there's taking lemons and making them into lemonade. So the story I tell is, was doing the music thing, was happy with it, was having fun, married, going to have our first kid. And at a 20-week appointment, we had terrible, terrible news. There was just abnormalities with our son, Toby. He had like a hernia in his diaphragm. And so anyways, internal organs got in the wrong place. And it's like burned in my mind forever watching this lab tech, try to look at the monitor and remember where the heart was supposed to be in your chest cavity. And yeah, I remember watching her do that. And I was like, this seems really odd to me. Like you do this all day, every day. Why is this a problem all of a sudden? And so anyways, it's a very rare condition. It involves seeing a lot of specialists, flying around the United States. And as we all know, the United States doesn't have amazing healthcare for, musicians, let's say even. And so anyways, was thinking about family, having to support, potentially flying around the country, not being able to tour, do shows or anything like that. And so it wasn't that I just I'm doing tech and everything is different now. There was definitely patterns in my life of someday maybe I could do this and it'd be fun, but I was not distracted, but pursuing music. And so pulled that lever, bought myself a PHP for Beginners book because this is 2011. Actually, I think I still have that book, but anyways, it collects dust now. And so I decided to kind of pivot into that because, wanted to be able to support whatever lifestyle came of all that. And I got a job in tech. And the springboard to all that was, again, for this music store, was to build a website for them. They got pitched a website for $10,000, which was a lot in that time. And I looked at it and I was like, no, I'm trying this thing on the side. Give me a shot at this. Let me see if I can build this in 3 months. And I did it somehow. In 3 months, I learned how to center things with CSS and, built a site and made some posts on Reddit. And before you know, I had a job at a startup in Portland. Yeah. So sadly, Toby is not with us anymore, but had that hardship and going through that was absolutely like call it trial by fire, or kind of a christening moment where it took all these things that I thought I could do and potentially be good at, and it kind of made them happen almost in a sense. So anyways, think a lot about that and, kind of pull that lever. So that was getting into tech. Yeah. There's more to get from there to browserless. So yeah. It's
I'm gonna need a moment to continue the episode. I'm very sorry that this happened to you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, just to continue about your tech story, you started building this. And you started building this alone. And, it's funny that you mentioned, hey, it took me 3 months to build a website. All the vibe coders out there listening, they're like, oh, no.
Yeah, it's a different time.
And yeah. So you decided to jump into this and decided to pursue this alone. And again, the question is why? Because, this podcast has been running for quite a few years already, and I think I've heard it more than I wanted to. Founders say that, hey, we started alone, but that was probably a mistake, and we got burned out really quickly. And it was the best decision to get a co-founder, and only a handful really was like, no, that was a very conscious decision. I want to do it myself. I'm the big believer in, if you want to do something well, you do it. What was your story behind it?
Yeah. So being in software for a long time, you start to see obviously a lot of patterns you can see of just this not working or this working, or dealing with the technology consistently and hey, this kind of sucks. So throughout my career, it didn't matter where I was or what I was doing. There was always something that used a browser programmatically. So first job, it was for testing. The second, it was for scraping data from vendors and updating, stuff in those vendors as well, offload, having to do it manually. And then the third job that I had in my career that was really stressful about this was PDF generations of dashboards. All of those things use web browsers. And I'd use all these libraries, Selenium, eventually Puppeteer, stuff even before Selenium, whatever that was. I can't even remember. Anyways, it was never great. The libraries came out and they were better and better, but the whole managing of the infrastructure side of it always sucked. And I was a front end developer for most of my life. And so I didn't really get infrastructure a lot, but I loved working with web browsers and all the cool stuff that they could do. And so there was a few aha moments where it was gosh, this would be so great if somebody just thought about this problem a little bit and made my life easier that has to work with this technology. So I was working on something totally unrelated, ran again into the same browser automation problem right around the time Puppeteer was coming out. And I remember looking at Puppeteer's issues and sorting them by most commented or most reacted to. And it was how do I get this to run in Ubuntu? And I was like, I think this is it. I've got this feeling now that all these years spent working with bad tools, and then all of a sudden this new thing comes out and the first issue is, help, I need this to run in a cloud environment. And I was like, this is it. This is my calling. And so I pivoted from this little web app that I was working on at the time and said, I'm going to wrap this up in Docker. I'm going to open source it. I'm going to, tell people how to solve this problem, but also, if you don't want to, or you don't want to think about it, just, here's a service to go sign up for and get using it. So I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if I actually thought about the co-founder founder thing at all. I just had found something that I liked. Honestly, my suspicion is a lot of non-technical founders, that's probably changed now, but a lot of non-technical founders need that technical founder to kind of get the thing up and running. They need somebody to build it. Anyways, I naively assumed if you build it, they will come, which is not true. Maybe a lot of people have said that on this podcast. It is not true. That's why that possibly other founder really comes in and makes a difference. But I had a lot of conviction. And so I just ran. I was like, I'm going to set up everything I need to set up to get a business running. And then I'm just going to build this thing and see if, I can get people to show up, which mostly worked out. It was really slow the first few years, but yeah. Anyways, that's the long kind of messy version of
why open source, I wonder, because
yeah.
you had you had this app that you were working on, and why you decided to add this open source element to it, but keep the service that you can still monetize. Like, is it purely for like learning, kind of marketing, maybe community element?
Yeah, there's this thought I always have with anytime but like you do a work stream, I always want to get hopefully one or two things out of it, maybe three if you can, just to kind of like get full utilization out of any particular effort. And so open sourcing it was another way of like, if this sucks or fails or whatever, at least I got something kind of in a resume or a portfolio in a sense. Didn't have a huge following on social media or anything, and so that was another way to kind of bootstrap that problem as well. It's just like, oh, I can get a little more visibility if I'm in open source, maybe get on a list somewhere or trending on GitHub. But you're just trying to pull as many levers as you possibly can find and like have access to, and you kind of make strategic decisions to pull levers where if the initial reason you pulled it failed, like you get a little like perk at the end of it for something else. So, but also just loved open source. Like the library before, or the project before browserless was open source library. There was a headless driver library that I wrote just to learn everything. And then even before that was like working on stuff for GraphQL a little bit. So that was a lot of fun. It's just so cool. You can be just somebody out in the middle of nowhere, put something out in the world, and all of a sudden, big technology people are interested in talking to you. It's like that kind of, gap from, nobody to somebody is pretty insane. And not any, like music, especially. There's layers of people you got to go through in the music industry to get to somebody important. And that doesn't really exist in technology. You can go from nobody to somebody in a day. And like, I've had Paul Irish reach out to me in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm doing something and getting visibility. It was really cool. Anyways, so all those things, but like, at the end of the day, we just want a dopamine hit somewhere. So part of that was part of it too.
Yeah. Well, maybe that also covered the part of the co-founder in a way.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second. My internet is just not tolerating today.
Yeah, that's okay. I just said that maybe that part also covered the co-founder a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely times where in the middle of the night and you're answering emails, you'd be like, oh, I should have had somebody along with this journey. A big part of the story too is like I never like went from I've interviewed people and engineers, but I never like had to start a hiring process from nothing. I've never had to think about contracts from nothing. I just liked building stuff and building things that I would use. And so, it was kind of nice in a sense not to have a founder, and the business grew. It grew a lot, in the first few years, but it grew at a regular pace that I could keep up with it, and I could like scale my skills as it was scaling at the same time. And over the years, I have had VCs reach out and want to do some sort of investment, but it's like, I'm happy the way it's growing right now. I don't think we need to have like parasitic growth just to try to, I don't know, make somebody else rich. You're like, it makes me money and makes our employees have a good life, and I enjoy this space. I don't know. Having a co-founder at that point too would have also just kind of like changed that dynamic a little bit. And it was COVID. There was a lot of other things going on. So I was happy not to deal with that until a later time frame when like I really needed the help.
That makes sense. I mean, I always wonder how you go from, building everything alone and learning, like you basically have to learn everything 360, your product, marketing, your community, everything. And then how do you go from there to hiring? Like, I experienced that problem myself because I love working on my own, and then I know how everything works. And consciously, I'm like, man, I would like some help with that because like it's a lot. And then I start thinking about somebody else doing this. I'm like, no, but that's my precious. Only I know how it's done well. How did you go to this?
That is a great question. It's so funny in a lot of ways. It is like raising a kid, and you raise a kid, and at a certain point, you have to let them go to a friend's house, or you're at like an event of some kind, and they want to go off on their own with their friends, and it's like, oh, you have to let go of things, to let them be their own thing, their own person. And there's a lot of similarities to running a business in that sense. In the same way, it's like I know what makes you safe. I know what you eat. I know where you sleep the best. But like at some point, you have to figure these things out and you have to become bigger than just me. Otherwise, it's just you're selling yourself as a business. My kind of rule of thumb is if I've done it more than 5 times in a day and I hate doing it over and over again, I'm just going to hire somebody else to do it. Being in business for yourself, running a business is a absolute torture test of endurance and stamina. And so anything that is like really pulling at you to quit or to stop, you can hire out for those so you can kind of keep your ambition and your, what gets you going. So that's kind of my, I don't know, really bad way of saying it. Or if it's like a big problem that, in the business that we know needs to be addressed and I'm like, I'm not capable of doing that, then yeah, we'd hire like probably somebody higher up in the, hierarchy to like manage it and hire their own people or, deal with that problem essentially. But I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Just like running a business, right? Like you could do it 100 different ways. I mean, the fact that there's like 5 or 6 different entity types in the United States is like pretty good clear sign that it's like, there's really no right way to do this. It's just like whatever kind of fits you and what you like working on. So yeah, really
Yeah,
just trying to leverage your strengths and then hire out your weaknesses, I think is like the biggest way to go about it.
just tiny bit surprised that you didn't say, hey, if you're doing something 5 times a day and you hate it, automate it, use AI. Like,
Yes, that was well. Now, yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
Where do
that
you
was
stand?
I'm in the as an engineer. I love it for just like getting 90% of what I don't want to do done, and then that last 10% where I really feel like, oh, this is my what I think is my contribution to the what this feature or pull request is going to be. Then I'll do those parts. So it is like good in that regard. It's just like any other new tool that comes in tech. In my opinion, it's a lot like when TypeScript came along, and then when linters and prettiers came along. Those you always get people that kind of fight against it because it's a change in how things are done and the way they're done. And so I think that those are fine. Like it's just another tool at the end of the day, just has more autonomy and authority on what it can do. I think more on like the philosophical non-tech side with like AI being applicable to everything, like it challenges a lot of our fundamental understanding of how human nature has been constructed in the last, I don't know, century or two. It's like if there's no intellectual property is like a big part of the economy. Then what's the economy? Is there an economy? Just like fundamentals like that start to not make sense anymore. And so it goes way beyond my pay grade on that level. I am not well equipped to handle those kinds of conversations. I just know we need to have them and be like thinking about them because if this AGI thing ever happens within a meaningful time frame, we're gonna have a lot of stuff we need to figure out. And hopefully like we have some guardrails in place before then. But I don't know. Knowing how like technology pushes society forward, not super confident that might happen in time, but we'll see. So that's kind of the dark side. The nice thing is everybody's listening or thinking about this and like kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do if my job's at risk or whatever. Like I hear those things and those make a lot of sense. I wonder them myself, but we're also at like such a great time where you can have an effect on what the outcome of that is. You don't have to just be paralyzed in the dark, hoping and praying for something to change. Like go do the thing that you think needs to happen to make it safe, and so that your kids' kids can have a better life than you or I. And I don't know, be the change you want to see, right? Like these are the times to do it, and probably like one of the more important times in human society. So anyways, that's my soapbox. I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah.
I don't know, I use it, I question it. I think we all do.
Yeah. Everything in moderation. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I love AI, but it's just, I also see how, for some, it just ruins work ethics because they're like, oh, it's not me, it's the machine. And they're like, no, that's still you. You were the one showing it to me. And let's face it, it's crap. And, you decided to do this. It's not the machine. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I've
I agree 100%. Yeah, I
I've been
totally agree.
ranting about it for for a couple of days, and all my colleagues are like, "What happened to you? What did they do to you?"
Was there like an event that triggered this, like kind of like spectrum of or opinion, I guess, perspective?
Yeah, it was a few things. I saw a few pieces of content that were like really poorly AI generated and just
Mm,
used, from people that otherwise I love, admire, respect very much. But I was like, okay, what happened to you, my friend?
Man. Yeah.
Or like, you hire somebody and it's just, it's sloppy. And I don't understand why. Like, AI is such a great tool, and at your fingertips you have so many amazing abilities, and you can
Right.
learn stuff so fast. And I'm saying that because, I have a 7-year-old, and, the way he has been dealing with ChatGPT and like creation there, he creates his own Pokemon cards.
Oh, wow.
I was like,
That's
man,
impressive for 7. That's actually, yeah.
it's so cool. And I'm like, so you, as an expert, you have no excuse to not produce good stuff, because my 7-year-old knows what's what. So,
Man, the ultimate throwdown. The ultimate.
yeah.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, I get it. There's actually like a fine, I don't know where that line is necessarily, but I feel what you're saying, where it's a tool that you have. It's such a force multiplier for what you can produce. But if you overdo it and you lean on it too much, it like skews that whole thing the other direction, where it's like, do you do anything? Are you this lazy? Like, you just gave me, writing is really the best example, because just like you said, you can almost within a few paragraphs tell, if there's more than 4 M dashes and then it's like colon hot take, like it's AI. And it's like, no, can't you just have like
And
gone through and
something
just like,
stuck with you. Something always
yeah,
sticks with people.
yeah, I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. It's a crazy time.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, what fun time to be alive, really. But yeah, another question I wanted to ask you, because all this solo thing, it's incredible until, again, I start thinking about it from a founder perspective, and it's not
Mm,
just building, right? I was just at the RubyConf a couple of weeks ago, and all the developers were like, "Yeah, building is the easiest part. Like, we can whip up an app for you in a weekend, and it's going to be great. But then it's just going to be there." So
mm,
I was reading one of your blog posts, and you said there that up until $1 million in ARR, and a lot of founders say that this is the first mile that's really hard. You were actually working without a marketer, and coming from being a marketer at a tech startup, I wonder how. Like, okay, open source. But, how did you grow this? How did you get people to buy?
oh man, the nice thing about being early, I think, in a market is it gives you an opportunity to sort of establish yourself as a bit of a thought leader, or, trailblazer, what have you. And so because of that, anytime I was working on something, or like just tripped on something really cool and what I was doing, it's like, oh, nobody's talking about this. I'm going to go fix, do the thing or whatever, but then I'm going to go talk about it a little bit, because it's like, oh, it's almost like finding a gold mine. Kind of pulling back to like the whole lever thing. Like, you pull levers that give you, two fruits, or two stones with one bird, or whatever. And so I'd blog a lot about it. And at first it didn't mean a lot, right? It didn't get my first users. No, not at all. But like some of those blog posts even today are still like a huge source of traffic from us. Like, it's just gotten so, it's been so well, like, quoted, word of mouth spread about it, whatever. And people still to this day come and read those posts. So blogging was a big one. Sorry, it's not like super crazy or, like a revelation. The first users really are the hardest, and going from like $0 to $1 is difficult, just because of like finding your users. So if you don't have, billions of dollars of VC money to burn to find users, I was just going where people were having the problem. I think that also plays into, well, like, build something that you want to solve yourself or for yourself. And so I was going to GitHub issues, Stack Overflow. They got mad at me for, pitching a little bit. That's the other thing too, is like, if you don't have a marketer and you don't have like these, blessed syndicated channels to go through, you kind of have to like, rub the rules a little bit to kind of get it out there. I was always trying to be a good citizen. At the end of the day, I'm like, here's the answer to the question. But also, if you don't want to think about these kinds of problems, then please sign up here. So Stack Overflow was a big one. Um, really got lucky a few times with Hacker News, X now too. I think, I don't know. Again, technology is such an amazing place to be, because you can go at somebody on X and there's a good chance they'll read it. I mean, they may not respond to it, but they'll see it, and you can just a simple like mention from somebody with a lot of followers, and it can really change things, in a fundamental way. But it also helps to have a little bit of rapport. So if you use open source, use blogging, go to where things are being built or people are asking questions. Obviously, AI is changing a lot of that, strategy anymore. So it's like AEO, AI engine optimization. It's like we almost have all the AEIOUs in it or something. Somebody should think about that a little bit and come up with a fun IU or whatever for that strategy. Sorry, this is really bad. But I don't know, AI's got to get stuff at the end of the day somewhere, and so you might as well be throwing stuff out there to kind of get users and, X and YouTube and I don't know, everywhere people are hanging out. So yeah, that was a big one. It was just building stuff, talking about it, and then, blogging about it and just really trying to be good about that. And then just took time. After that, it was just a matter of waiting. Content is king at the end of the day somewhere. So yeah.
Compounding. Since you mentioned AEO and TEO and whatever, since you started optimizing for ChatGPT and Perplexity and whatnot, did you have to change anything on your blogs or like how they format it or anything?
Yeah, a little bit. We've tend to have found that going like question answer kind of like QA FAQ kind of style helps a little bit, especially since a lot of agents now like live search these things and are trying to find results. So good SEO tends to stream down into good AEO or insert terminology here. So there's a little bit of that. And it's like the content was already there. We just kind of framed it a little differently such that it's better indexed by, agents. As an engineer too, like I kind of like that, to be honest. Like 9 times out of 10, I don't want to read. It's like going to a recipe site and you read about, oh, my grandma used to blah, 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 and all these things. And it's like, no, I just want the recipe. I want the recipe. Like, I just want to get to the question and the answer. I don't want to have to read all this preamble. Like I'm literally looking for code snippets sometimes myself. And I think agents, same thing, right? They got somebody prompting them about a problem or a question or whatever, especially in tech. They just need the answer to that. So the better you can kind of like start to figure out what that like long tail is in your product, the better you're going to get indexed and, show up in AIEO, whatever. But yeah, I don't, but it's also evolving a lot too. So you just kind of have to keep an eye on like what people are talking about and seeing what works. I've heard YouTube is a big one now too. Like having stuff on YouTube is a big way to go. So yeah, it's just a whole shift all the time.
I had a podcast with the founder here who was otherwise building a B2C product and was really happy with it, but thought, okay, well, with AI, it really, there is no excuse to not build something in AI space for B2B. And he was building something like PKI. So basically, the product that would give you some understanding, how you're quoted on ChatGPT and Perplexity and other AI engines. And what he said basically is at the end of the day, he sunsetted the product because he was so frustrated. He was like, all the results I was getting were such like just common sense results. Like, okay, financial news are quoted in Financial Times. Yeah, we knew that. So he was like, no, that's too frustrating. I don't want to, like, I cannot sell this as a huge value because I don't know where to go from here yet. So that was really funny.
Yeah, there's almost nothing more maddening than see like in a chat seeing it talk about your product, and then like for us it was like telling me the wrong thing. I was like, no, that's not how that works at all. Like you're wrong. And you would say, that's not how it works, ChatGPT, you're wrong. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're so right. Because it really wants to make you feel good about it. It's your experience with it. But like, how do I go fix this? Like you're wrong. And there's other people that I know have been telling me that you're wrong for this particular whatever it is. There's no, I guess maybe now there's tools. Probably this was a little bit ago, but yeah, that would be really frustrating to like get just like really basic common sense things out of chat, and man, to have to spin a product down about it too. That's even worse. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, to be completely honest, like when I see like where or how do people ask about saas.group, and Yeah, I mean, how to sell your company, what are the
Mm.
acquirers there, what are the valuations? And then again, it's kind of common sense. So, you know, I think in my view, it's like you said, you just kind of spin like the content that you already have into like something a bit more specific. How do you sell a company that is in B2B space, a SaaS, like the $1 million in era or blah, blah, blah. So a bit more long tail, like to really personalize it and to really feel like people can relate to it.
Yeah, and it's even like a great practice in starting a business, to be honest. Like if you know there's some hard to answer question or hard to do thing and it's a long tail, like guess what? You don't have to like rule the world with your next business idea. It can be a small thing that does it really well and is underserved or, has legacy incumbents, whatever that situation may look like. But I think the things that are going to make you successful with AI are also the same sorts of things that you can kind of generally apply to like starting a business, like man, long tail keywords all day long. Like that's where high intent users are, depending upon what product space you're in. And you could own all of them and you could be recommended so much and you'll get so much traffic. Like, yeah, it's the different ecosystem and landscape for sure. But like you could take advantage of that. There's always something to take advantage of at some point. So yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was talking to some other marketers and I was like, yeah, okay, you can like create so many content pieces now with AI. And, everyone's afraid that Google is going to punish them. And they were like, yeah, I mean, we knew that Google was going to punish us for a lot of unnecessary backlinks that didn't make any sense, but we did it anyway. It was, it was a hack. It worked. Just use it. So, yeah, okay. I need to dial
No,
down on the conscious.
100%. Whatever gets you, yeah, whatever gets it across the finish line. I mean, you got to bend the rules a little bit sometimes. I mean, it's the way everything works.
True. But, we started talking about AI anyway. So, you guys became pretty instrumental now for AI tools, right? So you are what allows AI crawlers to crawl and to act as a human being on the internet. So what like what kind of horizons did it open to you, and what kind of clients you started getting since this whole AI craze started?
Oh man, there's some I wish I could talk about. There is a browser company that we're working with on something, so that's the end of that. But I use the tool that they're working on with our stuff, and it's great. I think it's going to lower the barrier to entry. Great example of this, I think, is back during COVID. I was trying to get a PlayStation 5. Like that's all I wanted for COVID. Was I just want a PlayStation 5. I'm home all the time. I got kids. Help. But bots were so predominant over the internet, and nobody who didn't know how to program could get these things. And so, we run browser. So like I wrote a little script, that checked statuses here and there. And that's how I was able to get one. But I was only able to get one because I knew how to program and write code. And so a lot of the tools that we're working with and kind of in lower the barrier of entry for that for everybody. You could write a simple little thing that does that, or even tell a chat to do it. So it's like things that you hate to check on every day, like eBay, like, oh, I gotta buy these shoes, man. They're on sale and I'm gonna get sniped from it. Like, no, you could probably just write a little bot to do that. It's pretty easy to do nowadays. And so, things like that, but also just like crazy things like monitoring government websites for when the next open appointment is to get your driver's license, like simple things like that, like things that the government won't even do. But as like a citizen, you need to like work around their system. So those are some fun use cases I think that are coming up. I think, it's funny. Everybody's like, falls on one side of like, are bots good or are bots bad? Well, it's like, well, bots are working kind of towards an end user. So bots, in a sense, are kind of people on the internet trying to do stuff. Now, I think getting down into what they're trying to do is a whole nother topic, but bot traffic on the internet, I feel like is a part of the internet. It serves a purpose. And so we, are part of that. We want to like make it easier for everybody to have access to the same sort of, you know, sneakers or Supreme drops or, whatever it is you need to get done or need to find or, work out. That's what we're here for, is to like democratize all that to everybody. And so AI, especially tools, just like lower the barrier down. Like I really just want to get browser automation to work and work well. Because if it works well for me as a developer, I know it'll work well for agents and then thus everybody else that uses them. So that's been the fun thing. Like even my wife, who's not a technical person, is like talking about using some of these things for herself. And so, anyways, it's a crazy time, but I'm stupid excited to be a part of it, and I hope it continues to, thrive for all the right reasons, I guess we'll say.
That sounds awesome. And I mean, as a marketer, I completely understand that, you're probably dealing with a lot of us coming and, trying to figure out what's what. I mean, we've been really pushed towards like expanding our, responsibilities and what we can do and learn about AI and automate. Like, I mean, I've been automating with NA10. It's been a bloody mess. I was.
Good job, you're doing it. Like
Hey,
you're
thank you.
you're part of you're doing the thing and not having to do it yourself, which is great.
But it's so crazy, and I there like the learning curve is just tremendous. I mean, I love it. My brain doesn't so much, but it's okay. And I wonder how, to kind of, serve people like us that they're not very technical, but we want to automate it. We want to find the sneakers, right? How do you change the, UX, UI to do that, to make it possible for us?
Yeah. Wow. Another above my pay grade question, but I'm going to try. We'll see what happens. I love N8N because it is a visual builder, which is nice, but like only certain people build visually in their, you know, mental models inside their head. A lot of people like to dictate it or write it down, So I don't, it's so crazy because like the way that this technology works is such that any way of composing up an idea can be possibly handled, but like, yeah, today I don't think anybody's done it well. And it ends about the closest thing I can think of that is getting there. But to your point, it's like such a crazy high learning curve. And you have to, you know, figure out how to like lay things out in a visual way, which as an engineer, it doesn't totally make sense. Like I've seen a lot of like programmatic workflow builders or like, oh, build an app with our drag and drop stuff. And you can kind of like chain conditions and I don't know. It's messy and it's not quite there yet in my mind either. It doesn't feel right or done, but yeah, I don't know. I really, to be honest, I do not know what the right answer is because I think even AI has troubles with like the nuances inside of language, and that's what it's being trained off of, right? Large language model. So, like, there's nuance in language that even if you say talk to somebody and put the stress on a different part of a sentence, it changes the meaning of the sentence. But in textual form, that is lost. I don't know. I think maybe voice. Voice would be an interesting one because you can get a lot of emphasis on just like tone of voice, pitch. And here's another crazy problem is like all the languages out there in different cultures have different ways of like stressing things with, pitch and tone. Like some sing more and some are, very monotone. So I don't know. It's there's a lot of things to solve. We're like in the GeoCities era of AI. And so right now AI is just this weird website, with the cursor that like follows you with the little thing. That's what it feels like to me, kind of having seen the, internet take off and all those things is like, oh yeah, this feels like messy and nobody really knows exactly how great it could be, but it could be really amazing. It's just, we got to kind of figure out what the fundamentals are. I don't know. It's going to be fun to see what people come up with, but
Yeah.
yeah.
What about you? Like, are you spinning it off a little bit because you're a developer tool, right? So how do you go from that to making it a bit more attractive to like marketers and non-tech people?
Whew, that's a great question. I think, at the end of the day, developers are there are people, we are them. I mean, we're developers, crying out loud. So like, I don't know if it'll ever shift up more from a developer audience. Maybe someday. There's a couple of things that we're working on in the pipeline that kind of like, help lower the barrier to entry a bit. But I think there's going to be more sophisticated tools that like do that across the whole, tech ecosystem. Um, so I mean, to answer your question, like, and this is a great thing about bootstrap companies is I can say, no, I don't want to go higher than that. I like developers. We speak the same language. I don't have to like make up weird metaphors on the spot for like what concurrency is or what a queue is. Like I can just say those terms and people get it. Yeah, I'm happy with developers. We've done all right so far. I think I'll keep it there. I think it's a problem for somebody else to solve, and I like being on this problem set. This is a problem set near and dear to my heart that I've spent a long time on. So yeah, happy to keep it getting better, I
So,
guess.
okay, I love that answer, to be honest. And I mean, let's keep it technical, right? Another blog post from you that I read was about you rewriting the entire product and, fighting the technical debt. And this is something that we talk about all the time at saas.group,
Mm,
right? Because when we buy companies, it's like, okay, let's look at the technical debt. Let's look at the roadmap. Let's look, like, technical due diligence is a big thing. So, for all the technical folks out there who, think about their own technical debt and maybe are thinking about going through this lengthy, probably very difficult transition of rewriting the whole product, how to survive it.
oof. Oh man, it is a difficult journey. I mean, we did rewrite the tech from major version 1 to major version 2, and it wasn't, I don't know, sometimes you almost don't want to, like, you almost have to get dragged into it. So I think that's the point I want to make is do it when you have to do it and not when you think you want to do it. Like having a little bit of like forcing function behind you, like we really need to get a rewrite done so we can do this. So for me personally, it was multiple browsers. The version 1 of our product was very specific to Chrome and Chromium. And I wanted the other browsers to be a part of that too, just because I think, they're capable of other things. Something's better and faster. So I wanted all of them. And then in doing so, I realized crud. Like, I really have to rewrite the stack. Like, there's just no way this thing that's been around for 4 years, 5 years at the time could support this without just like massive changes that I am not capable of. AI is great for that too. You could have it refactor things to make it more suitable for those kinds of things, but there's still a lot of nuance you have to consider, and that makes it challenging. So I had a really good forcing function. I really wanted multiple browsers. I really wanted to make them happen. And then because I was in a major rewrite, major version change, it gave me an opportunity to look like, oh, look at all these other things that I've wanted to change or drop or get rid of. So if you're going to do a rewrite, you're going to do a breaking change, whatever, like do them all. Get it all done at the same time. Like nobody likes going through breaking changes. It sucks. It sucks for you. It sucks for your customers. But if you have to do it all at the same time. So that way it's not like every 2 months a breaking change happens. Yeah. And the other thing I think that just helps overall, and this is kind of like, yes, you should have done this a long time ago, is just really think strongly about what your API is for technical products. Like really be damn sure that what you're going to put out there is what you would want, what people are want. Are you going to regret anything about that? Did you make it maybe too specific for a particular customer and now there's like a weird variable somewhere that you have to, hold on to forever? It took a long time for me to like come up with what I wanted version 2 to look like and a lot of trial and error. And so I did take my time. It wasn't that I wasn't also watching V1. I was still working on V1 code, but I had two folders for V2, V1, and I would just jump back and forth. Usually, if I get a couple days, I would go to V2 and just try to like build everything back up that I liked. And then, yeah, go back to V1 and suffer through it. And being in both actually is kind of nice because it really tells you what you're doing in a major rewrite is the right thing. Like if you look forward to going back to the new thing, like, okay, you're probably making the right choices and things are there in place for doing that rewrite. But it was a long process. I think overall it took about a year to rewrite the whole engine. But again, I was really very opinionated on how it looked, how it felt, how it functioned. Could I add things on later that I wasn't even thinking about now? So all in all, it worked out, but it is very trepidatious. You have to be just very, very organized and plan it methodically. And hopefully you have a light at the end of the tunnel that is like dragging you through that tunnel because you're going to need something besides your own, motivation to get through sometimes. So yeah, that's the long spiel about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's going to be helpful to a lot of folks because, yeah, I mean, I've heard so many stories of like putting it off and putting it off, and then it's just there, and then it's massive, and then nobody really wants to do that, and
Yep.
it, yeah, what do you do then? But yeah,
I think one more thing I'll add to that is write unit tests. I've talked to so many people and interviewed so many people that are like, oh, the company I work for doesn't have unit tests. Like, how do you not have unit tests? Like, unit tests, for those of you who don't know, if you're just listening, like, what's unit tests? Like, oh, I want to test this thing always works no matter what I do or with these values. If I call this thing, it'll always return the same result. It'll have this side effect. It'll, create this customer instruct, whatever. Right, unit tests, because then when you have to do that major rewrite, guess what? You have a checklist programmatically already built out for you to make sure that the next thing does what the first thing did in the begin with. So, yeah. Anyways, that's it. That's the other piece of advice.
That's a cool one. All right. Well, I'm also going to ask you about a hack in a bit, but that will also be added, I guess, to the list. But anyway, the last couple of questions, I always ask them. So for you running this, for solo, then adding people, getting into community, growing with AI, what has been the biggest win and the biggest failure?
Ooh. I mean, the biggest win by far is I could support my life. I could support my kids. At the end of the day, it's like I've created a better environment for them to grow up in than I did. And I think, what else can you want? I think in some ways, that's a hard one to ignore. Like the fact that you've just like paradigm shifted somebody's life and gave them something better than what you had that's the ultimate test to humanity, in my opinion. So there's that. But there's also the fact, like, I don't have to commute anymore, like I have flexibility to do what I want to do. And if you're bootstrapped, you don't have to like be constantly thinking about the next round and like looking at, liquidity drying up in the VC space and all these other things, And it's just funny, like once you start to think about that, you start to realize like even some of this terminology you hear about building moats and all these other things along with like VCs is like, well, you only have to build a moat if you have a castle. Only like the very top feudal lords had castles, and you don't have to have a castle. You can have a really nice house and you don't have to build a moat. You just be happy doing what you're doing, with what you got. So I feel really good about that too. It's like sports the lifestyle I want. I don't want anymore. This is fun. I'm having a good time. The people we work with are great. So that is the biggest one by far. In terms of the biggest failures, I mean, we've definitely lost deals for sure over the years where I was like, why couldn't I, do what I needed to do or, had that bullet point on the contract or whatever, like we just couldn't, meet their needs or whatever. And those are painful. They really deflate you. A lot of this business is emotional. You have really high highs and really low lows. And so those are the lowest of the low. But then it does kind of prep you for the next conversation. Like, yeah, we're good at this. We kind of suck at this. If you don't want to do those things, or if you want to do those things, look elsewhere. We're just very honest with what we're good at and what we're not good at. But I think having to let people go is honestly the hardest part of this business. You build connective tissue, things are great. You're working with people. Somebody doesn't work out. You hired them, you took a chance on them. So it was almost a failure for you to begin with, to have them fit into that role that you thought they were going to be good at. Yeah, that's honestly the hardest part is firing people is not the funnest. And, it's like, I just think about, oh man, what are they? I hope they're not like trying to buy a house or something right now. Anyways, that's the hardest thing is having to break up at the end of the day with somebody in the business. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully keep that to a minimum. Hire really well and you don't have to do that. That's another piece of advice.
Yeah, work before a little bit harder to hire the right, like really the right person, and you don't have to fire them.
100%. 100%. And it's funny because people, and I get it. Like, I have to go through 6 rounds. There's huge take-home exercise. Like, well, would you rather go through that and be like pretty sure the job you got you're going to keep, or would you want to shortcut that and then get fired in 3 months? Like, I would take a couple more rounds, a couple more exercises, whatever, just to like offset the fact that you might get, let go of at the end of the day. So, yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, or you would have to let them go, right? Because you're not happy with the company or with the people you ended up with really working. So right. I don't know. It's also it's the same due diligence as in buying a company. It's working for a company. If you are there to stay, yeah, you better ensure that you'll be happy there.
100%. Yeah. We went from like 2 interviews to like 6 now. So probably the pendulum swung the wrong way too far, but I'm happy with it. If we don't have to fire anybody, amazing. I'd be so happy to never have to fire anybody again. At the end of the day, it's a job. It does happen. So yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Anyway, so here's the time for your hack. If there is something that you think other founders would appreciate, and can be, it can be anything. It can be, your way of dealing with business, with day to day. It can be something that works for the company, but something you think other founders would love to try.
I'm a huge believer in Inbox Zero. If you're listening, you've heard it, and you haven't done it, just go do it. Get it out of your way. You will go to sleep much easier. You'll wake up much better. It's essentially, in the way I see it, is you're almost turning your inbox into a checklist of what needs to get done. And so you can filter through and read them. And if it's like it doesn't need to do anything, archive it, get it off of your, front place. I don't even really have like sorting or filtering done. Like I'm not even that sophisticated enough to have applied those, because inbox zero is enough in my mind. And so that's my hack, I guess, is I use my inbox as a to-do list. Like I'll even write myself an email just because I know it'll eventually go all the way back up to the top and plunk through, get my attention at some point. Because I don't know, everybody uses all these tools, and like one day, you're having Claude make plans, and then you got to go elsewhere for like, oh, where's a ticket for that? And so I just think it's like the cleanest way to work, to be honest. And 90% of the communications I still have with people is through email. And so, anyways, isolate to a tool, treat it like inbox zero, make it Zen, and then when something shows up, you have to take care of it. So, and then, yeah, keep up with it. Don't let it go to the wayside. It's really important to keep up with it. I think that's the biggest one. I also love to turn bad customer like interactions into good things. I think when you're at a place where somebody is looking down on you, you have like all the opportunity in the world to like make that a good thing in some ways. So, turning lemons into lemonade in a sense. I think it's just an opportunity to really show, the humanistic side of technology. Like it's at the end of the day, we're dealing with humans. Most humans, except for developers, don't love always having to work with technology. It's like they don't get it. Why is it not turning it on? Why is it not working? And so I think if you can show up when something goes wrong or something is breaking and be a human, and build a relationship out of that event or circumstance, even if it means ending the relationship, at least you were there, at the end of it to, convey something of value. Yeah. Huge into that just because, again, we're all people. I want, I don't want to burn bridges. I want to maintain connection with people. And even if it was good, try to be honest, about where we could have done better and whatnot. So yeah, they're hard, but I think more importantly, they really show, who you are as a person, your candor, all those things. So I do kind of look for those out as well.
Awesome. All right. Both, I love, well, first of all, because I'm also into Inbox Zero. I just, it's such a peace of mind when you're like, okay, all done. I also, in a way, treat it as a checklist because people reach out to me through email and they're like, okay, let's book a podcast. Let's do this collaboration. Let's have you on an event, or let me go to your event. And you're like, okay, check, everything done. Yay.
Do you get anxiety when you see somebody else's phone or whatever and they have like the bubbles where it's like thousands or whatever, or hundreds? Like, how do you every time I see something like that, I was like, how do you
there's
live?
always this red dot.
The red,
you're like,
the red dot.
You're missing an email.
Yeah. It's like, just go yes, do that right now. Yes. Go take care of it. We can move on.
I live with a person that does that. I think he has like 6,000 unread emails, and it hurts. It physically hurts.
It does. I feel pain. I 100% agree. It's like, how do you live with that in the background looming? Someday, maybe we'll figure it out. Oh no, did I permanently lose you? I'm going to try changing networks if you can hear this, just to see if that helps fix this problem. I'm sorry. My internet is not behaving tonight.
No, it's okay. I think you're coming back, and you might be back. Okay, it started moving.
All right. Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Whole thing. Okay.
Okay. Well, the video is still getting there.
See if it picks it up soon.
Yeah, I mean, we only have like a minute to finish, so
yeah,
no worries. Just needed to work for a little bit.
Yeah, I have 2 networks actually, and one of them is completely down, and the second is the one I'm on right now, and it's struggling for some reason. I wonder if there's bigger internet issues at play.
Maybe try reloading one more time so the video comes back.
Yeah, let me do that. All right, let's see how about this goes. This is backup.
Yeah.
So,
Oof.
Still not going? Oh. Well, let me try one more thing here.
Yeah.
Any better now? I wonder if it's because I'm trying to... Yeah, like the uploading at the same time as I'm recording. I wish you could like postpone that until the end and just leave the tab open like normal, but
I don't know if we can do that.
yeah, I'm not seeing it elsewhere.
I mean, it says actual recording is higher quality, so I mean, the thing with Riverside is that it actually does it locally as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. We could try it. Yeah, we could try ending it and see if the upload at the end does it. I'm fine with that. I don't know if you can see me at all or not, but
No, not at all.
I won't flip you off or anything.
I'll try to turn off your camera and then turn it on. I can do that. I have the power. No, apparently I don't. All right. Anyway, let's try to finish this. Yeah.
I can wear the same shirt another night and we can do another run for closing or whatever.
If this doesn't work. Yeah. But yeah, well, thank you so much, Joel. Great hacks and a great story. Honestly, I really enjoyed everything you were talking about. And it's a great story, I think, of bootstrapping alone for most of the time and just getting, into this completely new market, completely new kind of space with AI now. I'm really looking forward to see what you guys are going to become in maybe another year.
It's going to be crazy. I don't know. It's going to be fun. But anyways, thank you so much. Great questions, by the way. Love the questions. Yeah, those are good. Yeah, it's fun to be stumped a little bit on those. So yeah, keep going with it. That was nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. And take care.
Yeah, you too.
Awesome. Okay. Hopefully it works. Thanks so much. I mean, that's great feedback.
Yeah, the questions were really good, by the way. Yeah. The questions were really, really well thought. I had a couple of them. I was like, oh, that is a great question. I have not given that enough thought, but hopefully it came off without a hitch.
Thanks.
We'll see.
No.
I will stick around and make sure
good.
this uploads.
Okay. Cool. I mean, I will end this session for all of us, but just don't close the tab and it will just upload.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. It's been great.
Thanks, yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Okay. Talk later. Bye.